Welcome everybody to our webinar on holistic wellness. The subject today is using our thoughts / feelings, it's really the same thing, to heal yourself or kill yourself or hurt yourself. So what we discuss in this webinar, explaining what's all about, so you'll understand how everything is connected, and the most important thing, how to use your thoughts to your advantage rather than to your detriment. Well, I wanted to explain that there is a connection between your thoughts and feelings and beliefs. If you think about it, if you contemplate a little bit, you will find out that when you have good thought, obviously you feel good. If you have critical thoughts or angry thoughts, the feeling wouldn't be good. What happens when you have negative thoughts or negative judgment of any kind? Several things happening. First, obviously, it creates stress in the body because whenever you have negative feeling, it creates physical stress in your body and your body cannot function optimally. But the other very interesting thing happen is that it affects your brain. So let me explain how it affects your brain. We have a lot of negative experiences in life. That's one thing. And then there is belief system. So what happened when our life experience is critical, negative, and often we do it with good intention because we're not aware enough. What we're doing is that we literally grow brain cells in our limbic system or the amygdala, all the brain centers that function automatically. So we don't have to focus on that. Your body just works automatically. So if your life experience has a lot of negative experiences, belief, criticism of others, which we usually do automatically without even realizing, you literally build physical brain centers, cells, that will automatically will put you in stress. And what happens is that you don't even realize it consciously, but there is underlying stress. In fact, any belief, any negative belief that you have about somebody, even if that minute you don't think about it, it stores in your brain and create automatic stress. So things around you that remind you even subconsciously of that person or that idea will actually trigger those brain centers to create stress, which means when your body is under stress, what it'll do to survive, it will direct energy from one region to less important region to another region. Normally, your brain supposed to regulate, coordinate all your organs, and everything in your body is connected to everything else. So when there is stress, your body will take energy from certain areas, and sometimes those areas are the one that you predispose to illness. Each one of us is different. For example, let's say that you're under stress. You don't even realize it consciously, but your stress creates that your brain doesn't give enough attention to the muscles in your back. As a result, you have muscle spasm. You don't even realize it, but then your body develops herniated disc, back pain, headaches, and so forth. The way of thinking is, oh, you have a bad back, herniated disc, oh, it's just bad luck or something that you earn in the lottery or something totally coincidental. Absolutely no. And the same true if you're prone to have a heart problem. It can actually not give enough energy or communication or continuous realignment and optimal function of your heart, circulation to the heart and rhythm of the heart, and eventually develop heart rhythm problem or blockage and you have heart disease or heart problem. And that's applied to any area of our body. That's one thing. Now, at the other opposite of it, if your thoughts are positive, and they're much more positive thoughts, non-criticism, compassion, love, non-judgment, all the good things that Jesus talked about and many religious philosophies talk about, exactly the opposite happens. You literally, if you do it consistently, the cells in your brain, automatic brain, so to speak, that were stressful, that cause stress and problem and anxiety, and you don't even know why you're anxious, for example. It's another manifestation because the stress can act not only in a physiological, physical level, contributing or creating illness, but it also affects your emotional, mental well-being. If you take the opposite side, where you actually can or you are just a person that is very nice, kind, not angry, don't blaming everybody. What happens is, if you change your behavior or the way you use your brain with your thoughts, then literally the brain centers, the automatic centers that cause you to be nervous, stress, and all the things that I mentioned, literally disappear physically. They atrophy, and your brain literally builds new brain centers. And those new brain centers, because of the input of your thoughts and your awareness, and we'll talk about it later, literally create brain centers that instead of being stressed, anxious, muscle tension, become peaceful, relaxed, loving. You can be in the zone. You can handle any situation, even so-called negative quotation mark, successfully and much better. So that's very important to understand. Another effect that your thoughts have is on your DNA. This is really a very interesting subject that you can explore yourself. But what happened was that when they started to study DNA, they determined that about 95, 97 of the DNA is actually, they didn't know what it was serving, and they call it junk DNA. Obviously, God did not create any junk in our body, but eventually what they realized that we have inactivated DNA. And what happened is that this inactivated DNA can be turned on negatively or positively. So, for example, let's take the situation and people today into DNA testing. Personally, if you have an understanding of the bigger picture, it's unnecessary and worthless. It only confirms that you're a victim of your DNA. And so they tell you, okay, you grandmother on one side and your mother and the other grandmother on the other side of your family, and your grandma and your mother anyway had breast cancer. Okay, so we'll cut your breast. Luckily they don't cut your head, that solves all your problem. But what they don't tell you, well, I don't know if they don't tell you, they don't understand or don't want to know, is that by proper nutrition, changing your thought, resolving traumatic event that eventually caused the blockage that caused the breast cancer, you literally can change your DNA. Now, what happens if you do it before, you'll never develop breast cancer. In fact, you can turn off the DNA that predisposes you to breast cancer, and you actually turn on the DNA, inactivated or non-active DNA, that you cannot get breast cancer even if you wanted to. And that's true for any health condition, and it's true for the methylation. People say, oh, my methylation is not okay. Yes, of course, not okay. You can be more susceptible to certain medications and immunization and so forth. But the potential of the turning on the DNA is such that you literally can turn on your DNA to the point that you can live 1,000 years. You can be in a state where you will not have to eat. Documented phenomena of breatharians. They don't eat, they don't drink, and they're fine. Your body is so incredible that with the proper DNA, you don't really need anything. It's actually been proven, for example, studies years ago, you can have all the vitamins, all the minerals, all the amino acids in your system, but you stress and your body acts as if you're deficient. On the other hand, they documented the people that were deficient in vitamin, amino acids, or what have you, documented with blood tests, the body acted as if there was no problem, no deficiency. And I've seen it clinically for many years, and I observed over the years, whenever I saw, like when I work in the emergency room, even today, if somebody was very old and with health conditions, you rarely see people getting to such an old age with those kind of health conditions, with not any exceptions. They're very nice, kind people. It's like you love to talk to them. Just have a relative died this morning. She was almost 102 years old. And even though she went through the Holocaust, even though she had terrible problem with her family, and anyway, it's whole tragedy, really rough life, she never, that things that were done to her by very close family, so I don't need to talk about. Normally people be bitter, upset. She never complained. She never criticized. She just accepted it. It's a rare phenomenon to see, but I realize it's such a nice lady, even though she had terrible life experience with it. She just passed peacefully. She just died peacefully ready to go, and everything was wonderful. So that's another example. Obviously, when the DNA is not working properly, it's not only the DNA, it's the physiology of your body don't work properly. All your functions suffering, and as a result, your body just develops eventual illness. What you have to understand that part of it is the function of the nervous system connecting to the body. Your body is so complex, and there's so many interconnections that conventional doctors don't even have clue. Chinese medicine has much better understanding, even though probably very partial, but still at least they understand the principle. Just give you an example. Oh, you're not going to have children, take off your uterus. Take off the prostate. Huge mistake, because what they don't know that the uterus supports the endocrine system. It supports all the organs. So whenever you remove the uterus, you actually create weakness that can manifest into illness. I've seen many cases, and doctors don't know that because everything in your body is connected. And this is really a blessing, and your body is really a miracle, because we have a lot of things that cause what we call energetic blockage. And those of you that don't know, you can study it, but the reason your body is functioning properly and can suffer a lot of damage, but still not having symptoms or illness, is because your body have many pathways. They took your uterus, okay, it's not good, it weakens the body, but the body still have many pathways to do the same work through by other means, through other organs and so forth. We have bypass. The problem is that when the damage accumulates to a degree that your body cannot take it anymore, then what happens? Your body develop illness and symptoms. So again, just like the DNA is part of the thing, and the brain function, communication between the brain and all the organs, and the intercommunication between the organs, it's incredible miracles. And what you also have to understand, and I tell all my patients, is that healing is not about being perfect. You just have to connect enough dots, or remove enough blocks, or correct enough things, whether it's through nutrition, through many other modalities, which I explain on my website and the videos. Then once you get to a certain point, threshold point, even though you're not perfect, even far from being perfect, your body is such a miracle that the illness that you suffer can totally go away. And you can die very healthy and happy not being perfect. But again, it's a matter of degree of blockages or damage that your body accumulated, and you relatively, in most cases, you need to resolve very little of the blockage or the damage to heal. Actually, for the reason that you understand today, your thoughts are the most powerful element of restoring your body, of activating your good DNA, turning off DNA that is not helpful, that makes you prone to illness, and the general function of the body. This is why it's so important. And over the years, I've been involved in this kind of work. Those that know me, if not, you can read my book, look at all the videos I have on YouTube and on my website. And I have seen a lot of amazing healing, even cases that supposedly they sent people to die in hospice, even physical healing that were so dramatic for acute condition, for trauma. I would never believe anybody as a doctor unless I saw it with my own eyes. I worked a lot in that area, but since then, when I started my regular practice and I stopped doing all this intensive training for people to use the thought and consciousness properly, I observed that all my patients that I always encourage use simple tools to correct the consciousness, the belief, and so forth, did much better. And the more they did, the better it was. And it's not only that they healed, were sometimes not expected to heal, and have much faster and better outcome, it changed the life also as far as emotional, mental well-being, and all the circumstances of their life changed for the better in every area. I just wanted to focus a little bit about and explain, why do we have negative thoughts that are unhelpful? Because as you understand now, they're bad for our emotional, mental, spiritual, and physical well-being. It develops disease, suffering, stress, all the stuff that we all experience. What is the reason for that? The most basic things that I realize that most people do not realize is the victim belief system. Because if you believe that you're victim, which means you don't have control of your life, what's going to happen is that in order to survive, so to speak, you will victimize others before they victimize you, because it is the survival of the fittest. And obviously that creates stress if you have no control of your life, and it leads to all the problems in our world. We poison the body to heal, and we can't even see that because we believe that we're victim and don't take responsibility for the health, and let doctors with good intention cut us, most time unnecessarily, poison us with poison to heal, which doesn't even make logical sense. But because we're so entangled, it becomes like a filter. We cannot see that. So the victim belief system creates stress because you have no control over our life, or less that we could have otherwise if we didn't have this belief. It creates stress. We victimize the nature, the land, with pesticides, with genetically modified food to have better food, which is absurd, doesn't make any sense. We try to play God. We create war to make peace. I won't get into that. I have lectures on that, which in my website, there is a video called Brain Regeneration. I get into that, and my book, Unconditional Healing, gets into the details. And as long as you don't realize that you're not really a victim and kind of clear your mind and understand the principle, you're not likely to take any steps. And those are the people that you tell them, explain why conventional medicine have a lot of downside, most time much more than upside. They will, it's like you blaspheming God. How do you dare to talk against doctors and so on? You have to really understand that. Once you understand that, then you can have much more control of your life, obviously with certain parameters. And no matter how suffering around you, and most people are in suffering because of this paradigm, you can create your own happy life and not be affected by all this negativity. So there's a lot of resources that I will encourage those of you that don't know about it, or see all the aspects. There's more aspects than I'm mentioning here, but the more you understand intellectually, you also have bigger point of view, and you'll understand why you really don't want to miss that, because it's your life, and that's the most important part of what you came to earth or what you're achieving in life, because the only thing you take with you when you pass on is your consciousness. You do not take anything else. Your negative thoughts, negative belief will deactivate or literally damage your DNA. They'll actually activate negative DNA, like cancer, predisposition to cancer, and so forth. But it also will happen in GMO food, junk food, chemicals in the environment, in the food, medications, illegal drugs, alcohol, and obviously, as I say, emotional trauma and negative beliefs. And what's interesting, I have a link under the Brain Regeneration program, which I encourage you to watch all the videos, the lecture of Dr. Amen. If you haven't seen it, you can also check him on YouTube. He actually, by doing PET scan, documented that people that eat junk food, do drugs, have had trauma, literally there is damage to the brain physically. But when the same people change the nutrition and do all these healthy things, the brain recovers. And another lecture of Dr. Deutsch that actually they documented nerve centers that were damaged, in this case with CVA, that normally people don't even survive. By certain training of the brain, the person not only didn't die, went back to work after he was about a year in coma, went back to work as a teacher, got married, and when he died, years later, his son that was a doctor have done an autopsy, and when they saw that the original damage was horrendous, but there was totally new brain tissue grew that allowed him to go back to life when clinically he was expected to die. By directing your thoughts, you can regenerate your brain cells. So when you regenerate your brain cells, obviously you also activate the beneficial DNA. Your brain works better, not only physically, but also emotionally. You activate the beneficial DNA, turn off the unhelpful DNA, and of course that promotes healing of practically, as far as I'm concerned, unless your brain is totally damaged, you have no control of your brain and mind in extreme cases. There is, in principle, there's no healing that's impossible. And I don't care what your condition is. As long as you harness your brain and feel in the shape that you can use your brain, there is really no limitation in healing. I personally believe that you cannot have actually health problems that cannot be resolved. You have to get out of the box and find out what's going on. And I cover it in another webinar, as you can see on my website. So this is why it's so important, because not only you can improve your health, you can improve your relationship, you can heal any emotional issue, even if you have very rough life. Also, what I wanted to say that, as I mentioned, emotional trauma, stress can always weaken your body to such a degree that you develop illness. And many people you can identify, they develop cancer or whatever illness after emotional trauma, emotional stress in their life, divorce, somebody died on them. Of course, also things like surgery, trauma, dental work, all this is an energetic shock that also can weaken the body to create illness. And we deal with it to prevent this in my practice. In addition to that, what you have to realize that the emotional trauma did not start like whenever something happened to you as adult. The trauma starts, trauma that causes energetic block starts in your mother womb. Unless your mother was in bliss for 9 months, which is not usually not the case, any problem, emotional problem, she wasn't ready for the pregnancy, she was sick, she had upset, affects your energetic body and create blockages that eventually will add up. And then, of course, you're born. The birth process for most people in the Western world is very, very negative and not natural, unfortunately, which could be also traumatic. But then you can have divorce, abandonment. I mean, nobody has, even the perfect parents can mess you up with good intention. So we all have these traumas, and just adds up to the damage I was talking about. And again, usually you handle life and you have enough resources to still survive or do the best you can, but still have a lot of emotional suffering. But that's one of the main reasons, if not the main reason in most cases, for people developing later in years cancer, arthritis, diabetes, and so on and so on. Some people develop it much earlier. But what happened is that the damage, energetic damage from nutrition, pollution, Wi-Fi, EMF, all the things that some people don't even know, GMO food, adds up to damage that you already have stored in your body. And what happened is that eventually your body cannot take it anymore. So why I'm mentioning that, because many good people that learn about holistic medicine, where you support your body, you understand the healing come only with the body, and you do natural things that don't poison or damage the body, like conventional medicine. Again, in parentheses, conventional medicine, emergency trauma can save your life, no question about it. But most, if not all, chronic treatment on the long run can help you temporarily, but they do more damage in the long run, including all the damage I mentioned before. Even people that do holistic medicine, change their nutrition and do the best they can, still don't get well. It's like they do better than conventional medicine, obviously, almost in all cases, but they still don't heal. And the reason for that, in most, if not all cases, is trauma from childhood. Why I'm mentioning that for two reasons. Because there is no problem they don't have solution. So we have a modality called nutripuncture, which I'll really encourage all of you to watch the video on nutripuncture, because by treating your body energetically in a very gentle, non-invasive, and very simple way, with no contraindication, you can literally open up an energetic block from very severe emotional trauma like abandonment, PTSD, divorce of parents, sexual trauma, and so forth, in a way that accelerate the process, sometimes exponentially. It's amazing. And it's a very simple way to do it. Unfortunately, very few people do it in this country. It comes from France. The good news is that even if you cannot afford it or you don't have access to it, because very few people do it, you can use all the tools I'm going to briefly talk about. And I have a lot of information videos on ways to do that. You can achieve the same thing. It might take much more time, much more work, but again, the working on your consciousness, on your thoughts, and all this, what I call consciousness tools, is free, doesn't cost you anything. It depends on what you choose to do. You don't even have to take time off, like I used to do this type of training with people all day for 7 days, and I've seen so many miracles. You don't have to do that. You can do it during your daily life, not having to stop from whatever you're doing. And it's all explained in the video. So doing this work can eventually resolve practically anything. It just may take much more work, but again, it doesn't cost you anything. So as long as your mind is still healthy enough, and most people are, anybody can do that. Let me briefly review how you can do that. Again, I have extensive videos on self-healing tools. There is a brain regeneration program. All I do, I ask you to watch the videos on that page. Two are mine, and two of them are Dr. Deutsch and Dr. Amen. And I have some more videos that explain more details about creating reality with consciousness on YouTube, which also you're welcome to watch, give you more perspective. The more perspective and point of view you see, the better you can integrate this and understand it and motivate yourself. That's really the key, because nobody can prevent you from doing it. My book has a lot of tools. With the brain regeneration program, if you like it and if you want, I give it free, just send me an email and I will email you the whole program. In brain regeneration program, give you many, many options. Some of them that tools that I developed, some from other sources. And all you have to do, you have two options. You can take like 3-4 days off. It's all free. You don't have to pay thousands of dollars for training, and just go to the beach, go to a nice place and just do this exercise exactly as directed. On the other hand, if that's not feasible, there's no reason to despair, because all you have to do is to take the tools that you can do it on the go while you're working, driving, talking. You can do them all day and you'll have the same effect. You just need to do it as directed. So it's really very simple. You don't have to be sophisticated, genius, spiritual, religion, doesn't matter. Even, and I have cases, even though you don't understand why you do that, you don't even believe me, you do it, it cannot not work. If you do it long enough, you'll catch the idea and start to experience a change. Another good source is the book, The Art of Soaring, which you can find online. We also have it for sale. It's a neat book because all this guy does, and it shows you how incredible is your consciousness. It's very simple. He talks about very simple method. You can even create your own. And all the method does is there are many, many ways to do the same. Anytime you worry about something, you think about something negative, somebody that bothers you, or anything that bothers you, you just shift your thoughts even to a funny word, to neutral picture, to positive event from the past, silly word, absolutely funny, outrageous scenario. If you do it consistently, basically stop focusing on the half empty, and then automatically your body starts to heal. So he talks about people healed from terminal cancer, people that converted their greatest enemy, their boss, to the best friend. They even did it in people they didn't know, just saw them in the street, like drunk, and they did it on them, and the people literally changed their life. Your brain and your consciousness, the energy it creates, it's not only powerful toward your own healing, but it also helps everybody around you automatically. There are two books, The Art of Soaring and The Power of Luck, it's just continuation, just describe many, many ways that people do it and what they achieved. And you realize how simple it is. If you just do this book without knowing, understanding anything, it'll work. I love it because it shows you how simple it is and you understand better the principle. The other ones I mentioned briefly, there is the journey. I like the book. It's also thejourney.com. This lady had malignant uterus cancer, football size. And what she decided to do is, instead of running to surgery because she was bleeding, they want to do it immediately, she just took time off and did a lot of things. But she's convinced that what helped her heal, that's another option, to experience all her fears, and she had a lot of trouble in life without any resistance. And she, within 6 weeks, the tumor disappeared totally. There's normal MRI, and she was totally healed. Now, I know what it is because years ago, that's exactly what we taught in our training. People, it took a long time, all day, but they learn not to judge, to shift the consciousness so they don't focus on the half empty, just to feel, not being in the head. And I've seen again that the healing I mentioned, I saw that it was absolutely mind-boggling. That's another way, which is, I would call it a shortcut, but I find out that most people cannot relate to it. But you can buy her book. She explained the process, She also have, I think, workshops which are very expensive, and it's worth it. But again, that's another way to deal with your consciousness by experiencing any negative feeling that you have without judgment. So in my book, for example, it gives you also many tools, unconditional healing. I tell you how to do it in a gradient form. So for example, you make a list of all the things that bother you, from tiny, tiny things that irritate you to more and more serious, up to the worst thing that bothers you in life. And then you experience the feeling without judgment, without need to explain, to understand, to figure out, to blame, not yourself, not anybody else. And you find out when you do that, if you can train yourself to do that, it's really not hard, just take doing, you see that the feeling is gone. And if you do it progressively, you can develop the ability to experience without judgment. And when you do that, you're really taking responsibility for the creation, so to speak, and it just dissolves. The feeling goes away. It's like never existed. It's a beautiful way, and it is a shortcut. So I'm mentioning that for those that want to explore it, it will be very rewarding. The other one that I highly recommend is the work by Byron Katie. It's fascinating. All the information on the website, there's videos on YouTube and on her website. Basically, you learn not to resist, but it's by intellectual, logical analysis. And when you do logical analysis of all the criticism that you have of other people, eventually yourself, and so on, and all the difficulty you have in life, you realize how with criticism, you're just destroying yourself, and it doesn't do you any good, so to speak. And by shifting your brain logically, if you do it enough, you can release a lot of the trauma that you have from your parents, from divorce, or I don't care what, anything. The worst suffering in the world can be released, and then the past doesn't really exist. So I love this process personally. What I recommend that you do, if you really want kind of to delve into it, more than just seeing quite interesting and amazing thing on the video samples, she has many books that you can read, and probably more than one program, but specific program called Loving What Is. There is CD series that you probably get in any public library. I don't know if it's available for sale. And just listen to it 3 times and you'll understand the process. And then just follow up instruction. Very important that you don't do it just in your head, but write down and do the process. For me, it's a shortcut. You can achieve a lot of healing, a lot of release of getting attached to negative reality by actually loving it, it disappears. Let's say somebody in your family has serious illness, let's say cancer, just for the example. Obviously, all your life you were brainwashed to believe, oh, cancer is horrendous, it's terminal. You do all this horrendous, terrible treatment that people, if they don't die from them, they suffer. And obviously, somebody close to you has cancer. You're worried, you're upset, you're scared. But what are you doing? What are you doing is that you actually contribute to the cancer with good intention. You're putting negative energy and actually help the person to be sick and not to heal. Instead, if you work out and release all the beliefs, so the cancer they have, you're not God, it's not good, bad, right, wrong, it just is. And then you just send them unconditional love. This is truly healing. You help them to heal. Anything other than that, especially in family, we have DNA connection. By the way, I didn't talk about it. The DNA is like an antenna. This is the reason that if somebody very close to you or family, you know something happened to them, even across the world, that's a way to communicate also with the universe. The best thing to help the person, not to freak out. For example, I have a process on my website, Check Self-Healing. I call it Self-Help Project. All you have to do, and that works too, anytime you judge something, including your illness or your problem, your family or anybody, anything, politicians, just put the intention. You release all judgment. You forgive them if you need, but you decide that you release all judgment. Whatever they do, it's not good, bad, right, wrong, it just is. Again, it's another way to do it. If you do it consistently, you find out that you're less stressed, and eventually you feel so much better. Why to judge when basically you're beating up yourself, your body and your brain, and damaging yourself? And it's totally useless, even if the intentions are good. So it's very important, if you want to help people to heal and help yourself, you're really doing more yourself, because people die from cancer or get cancer just because of the fear. I have to believe it's a fact. People that had, for example, some people, including myself, believe that the stress from the fear of cancer is so deep and so ingrained in mass consciousness, And by the way, what does it mean in greater mass consciousness? Even if you logically don't really afraid of cancer, the effect of the belief system, all the people around you, subconsciously scare the hell out of you. If you intellectually say, oh no, I know I can heal. You're more affected than you realize. Again, because the DNA of all humanity is antenna. If most people believe very deeply that something is horrendous, even if you don't want to believe and intellectually understand holistic medicine, it still scare the hell out of you and create stress even without you realizing. So when you release all judgment and just then you make it easy for yourself, and it also, by the way, reduces your chances of getting cancer, because all this propaganda just help the illness. Let me just make another point, which is really important, about the DNA as antenna. Probably know the phenomena of Stockholm syndrome. People take somebody hostage, terrorists, and they stay together with them and eventually become sympathetic and they resonate with them. Or people that it's known that if you meet face to face, it's much easier to resolve conflicts because eventually there's an entrainment. Obviously, if there's automatic sympathy because of personality, it's even more helpful. But eventually, things equalize. That's, by the way, it's interesting that sometimes people are married and they become like each other, or dog becomes man looks like his dog. I've seen cases like that. It's hilarious. But the point is that the DNA is information system and it can affect you. And incidentally, another aspect of that is that you see people that drink alcohol and they have big nose. You can actually see they're drinkers. That's again activating of negative DNA. So going back to the DNA in general, what happens when you heal yourself, you create a resonance that help everybody around you. If enough of us really do these tools, if enough people get to the point where they're non-judgmental, they release all their negative thoughts by retraining the brain, you're becoming like a beacon of energy that nullifies millions, tens or hundreds of millions of people with negative belief with good intention. Not that they're necessarily bad. Nobody's really bad. So it's very important. But what's going to happen if you do it consistently and get to a certain level, you will find that even people, especially family, because that's the one that will push your button most, will be less conflict, they'll be more open to you and wouldn't give you a hard time, or whatever is going on will improve. And again, if you read The Art of Soaring, you'll see examples for that. I encourage everybody to explore it more. I'm just relatively briefly talk about it just to give a general idea, because it's free, and this is the best gift that can happen to you. And those that have all kind of excuses, it doesn't cost you money, so you have no excuse. Nobody puts gun to your head and forces you to think negatively. Ultimately, with proper brain function, even not full, you can do that and you will see the results, and the proof is in experiencing it. You don't have to believe me, just do it and find out for yourself. Okay, Eve, do you have any questions or comments?
Oh, are you available also to talk about with the whole process after somebody watch, if I watch the videos and I read the books?
I'm available. You can do telephone consultation.
Great.
And then we take in consideration, go into details. Everybody is unique and different. And another thing that you want to know, that you can have 10 people with the same cancer, with the same illness. The main reasons can be totally, totally different. Even when we do holistic, it's like we're looking for the solution outside of us, so somebody to save us. And we do it without even realizing it. And that actually doesn't help the healing, because I tell my patient, everything you need is already inside you. We just need to find a way to activate it more efficiently that'll fit your case. But I don't heal you. And even anything that we do, it promotes the normal function and the energetic function of your body, but the body does the healing. So when you tend to look for like the magic cure and you're desperate, guess what? You're really telling your body, oh, you're no good, you're a victim, let's find somewhere to save you, which is not a good way to be, because without even you realizing it creates stress. You're doing like last resort or whatever, because you don't realize that you have enough in you. And I tell my patient, because of course, a lot of the things I do, they're wonderful, but some people can afford it. But the point is, for me, there's no excuse, because if you don't have money and your brain is still there, which most cases it is, just do this self-healing thing. It works. It cannot fail if you do it. Now, I want also to note, just for your awareness, because we always get attention from illness, and we adjust our life, and sometimes, usually subconsciously, we're afraid to get well and resist it. Again, if you're open enough, you'll overcome it. But sometimes when people don't do things that even don't cost them money, you know they're resistant and you respect that. I mean, it's okay. I'm not judging anybody. But you have to realize that, and if you have an issue, realize always resistant, and it's natural. And the reason for the resistance, I won't get here, it would be too long, but I've actually, on my Dr. Talmor Holistic Wellness channel on YouTube, it's a 2-part series on use of consciousness. Anyway, you can see I'm standing, it was in a church. It's not the best quality, but it's enough for you to understand. It's actually expansion on my book, which also explains it. Okay, did that answers your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome. Linda. Hi, Linda. Okay, do you have any questions or comments?
My comment would be that because I've worked with you so long, and I know I would just really love to share that you really do teach us so much about looking within and taking responsibility for how we think, what we say, being humble enough to be able to step back and realize that we have so much we can learn. The fact that you are so sharing, it is exciting, because we really do learn. I'm 72 years old, and I have learned so much in the 30 plus years that I've known you. And yet, with something that just happened recently, I realized there was a lot that I hadn't cleaned up in my life. So.
Right. Okay. I don't know if you want to share what happens, but you don't have to. But I'll make a note that I have cases where people were very acutely sick, or something happened and couldn't figure out why. And we just found that there was emotional upset that they didn't even realize it's upsetting them, or creating distress in the body, and treating them, in this case, with nutripuncture. I have several unbelievable cases. Literally, people healed within 24 hours, or even one case in 2 minutes. That's how important stress is. And sometimes one thing that triggered something, if you correct it, the results could be amazing. All right. Thank you, Linda. That's all you want to say? Thank you.
I mean, I'm comfortable with anything that you.
No, it's okay. No, it's okay. We covered enough. I mean, I actually, without naming you, I give you as an example, and I have many others, but it's nice because it gives people an idea how powerful, when you correct energy in the body, how powerful it can be. More than we can usually even hope for. Okay. Thank you, Linda.